We had two Hydra guys earlier. You probably know them, Soldat and Soldier Forester.
Yeah. I think I've flown with them a couple of times, yeah.
So
small world, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think at that level, most people have flown with each other at some point, right? Or at least it appears to be that way.
It's it's like we finished the match and then straight after I joined Hydra comms, just to chill.
Really? And
yeah, that's how it is,
And did Soldat...
No colluding though. No colluding. It's totally above board.
Did Soldat give you a bunch of shit after the tourney was over?
No, I don't think so. People are nice, right?
Well, he was saying outrageous shit, but I think he was just mostly kidding.
I mean, it's probably correct, to be honest. I don't know what he said, but probably true.
All right. First, let's introduce the guest, because I'm a terrible host. I'm doing this for the second time now. So this is Tikktokk Toxic. He's very famous for his Grimoire having how many kill marks?
I believe it's at 640 something now.
Like 1640?
640.
640 kill marks. Oh wow.
Yeah.
And also an epic betrayal. I mean, that was very famous at one point on Reddit, and your pretty amazing reaction to it. Gotta be honest.
Yeah, they're making a documentary about that now.
They should. They should make like They should make like a YouTube video with like those in-game characters. Oh, I guess we don't have walking in stations anymore.
Oh, they came to my house and everything to interview me.
Well, it's a good story, right?
Yeah.
Well, also, I think you have done almost every facet of EVE so far, right? I don't know.
I've never done large block stuff. I don't think I've ever been in a fleet above 1,000.
Yeah, well, I guess you don't need to know. You don't need to do it to kind of guess what it would be like. But I think you've also done industry and wormhole stuff and low-sec stuff a bunch, and nullsec. I guess you're now more active in nullsec, right?
Yeah, I spend my days spinning H-stars in Havens these days. Exciting gameplay.
I should have asked the other guys too. How old are you?
I'm about to turn 25.
Oh, so do you think that's a younger age in the AT or older age? Or is it about average?
Right now, it's probably in a younger age. I don't really think there are a lot of new people in the 80s, mostly veterans getting very old and rusty. Over here.
Soldat, ask me a question to ask you, and I want to ask it before I forget it. Did you guys really think you would have any chance against Hydra in the final 5?
Yeah, I thought we had the chance, obviously, but I thought it would come down to luck, as in we would need a lot of luck to win. I personally think that Volta has consistently the best pilots in the tournament, but we have mid-tier theory crafting at best. So if you can just get an even or favorable matchup, I'm perfectly confident in our ability to out-execute Hydra. But, we need to actually get that matchup, which didn't happen.
So are you saying Hydra had the better theory crafters?
I don't think it's comparable. I think everyone I think we were doing okay in the tournament. We were mid-tier at best, which means that everyone else with Hydra were, mid to low tier, and then you have Hydra at SS plus.
Oh, I see. So, well, they said they're all bad. Everyone is bad in the AT, and they were just slightly less bad. I guess you guys are kind of on the same page on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I mean, obviously, I haven't looked at the Hydra, internal stuff, so I don't know what they've done. But knowing Kadesh and the people involved, I suspect they probably have more knowledge than the rest of the tournament teams combined.
Oh, wow. Wow.
which I don't think is a high bar. That's not complimenting Hydra as much as throwing shade on everyone else, us included.
Guys in the Twitch chat, is Tikktokk breaking up for you guys a little bit as well sometimes? Like connection issue a little bit? I don't know if you could go to a place where you have better connection, or if that's it. Tick?
I can probably try to improve it if it's an issue.
Oh, well, if that cuts us off, then no. Sounds like basic Discord sound? Alright, then it's fine. It is basic Discord sound, Grable, by the way. We're not having anything fancy here for like the professional interviewers. I'm doing all of this on the fly. So just some general questions about you. I know you live in Norway, and
wow, way to dox me.
Oh wow, sorry, man. What ships do you usually specialize in to fly in the AT?
I actually got a nice infographic from Ithaca, so I fly the Hyena a lot. That's probably the ship I'm most known for, at least in Volta. And other than that, I fly generally small stuff, EVAR frigates, tackle stuff, and whatever is needed, really. So at this point, I have basically everything maxed out. So occasionally I'll just, sit in a command ship of some sort, just because I happen to have the skills to do that perfectly. But I'm definitely most comfortable in small sumo ships that, go around and disrupt people.
When you guys decide who sits in what ship, is it mostly the piloting skill, or is it also the skill points? Or do you sometimes say like, oh no, he doesn't have this command specialization skill to 5, so we're losing 2 kilometers of range or whatever it is, and therefore he cannot sit in the ship? Or is it more like, no, he's really great in this ship, doesn't have the perfect skill, but that's fine?
It's definitely a mix. We have a core of very good players who play year after year, and they'll generally be put in the more skill-intensive ships. But say this year, we had several cases of, oh, please, can someone just skill inject a Skybreaker, please? We just need anyone. So we also had the other situation where it's just like, can we just fill this role with someone? And then skill doesn't really matter as much.
How many pilots did you guys have in total? Like ready to roll on Sunday?
I didn't count, but I would imagine between 15 and 20 just sitting there watching.
All right, so 15 to 20. So around the same as Hydra. And I guess you guys had to do less matches than Hydra did. Did you guys?
Yes, we managed to beat them, so they went down to losers.
Yeah, thank you.
I lost down to losers.
I lost all my channel points. I'm sorry, Tikktokk, that I didn't believe in you guys and bet on Hydra.
I bet on us in the 2 matches we won, and I went from, I think, 3k channel points to 60k channel points in those 2 matches.
Yeah, because everyone was betting on Hydra so hard. I think it was over-exaggerated, and I should have bet on you guys. Just, a lower amount, but then the earnings would have been much higher. But you're always smarter in hindsight. Yeah, guys, !raffle. Also, guys, if you have questions for Tikktokk specifically, or just around Alliance Tournament Live, or what it is to be a pilot there, put it in the Twitch chat, and maybe put a question, like a Q, and double points before the question, so I can filter out, all the raffle stuff. Marinette is asking a really funny question. Did any of you guys get hate mail for losing channel points?
That's actually a very good point, because I still have all my social stuff in game disabled, so no one can contact me from the 80, and I forgot to turn it back on. So
well, turn it back on.
I don't
maybe.
know, because if they wanted to send me something, they wouldn't be able to. But I haven't heard anything. I did see a lot of comments in the Twitch chat, though.
Oh yeah, I bet. Graybill is asking, did Volta have any mercenaries? So
I think we had one or two.
Do you know the names?
Active.
Yeah, we had Pretorius. He was in a different alliance, and we made consistent jokes about him being a spy.
Uh-huh.
So let me see if I can find out which alliance is actually in.
And maybe another guy? Was there also some people just there for the training and not actually for the AT?
We had, I think most people were fielded at some point, at least for one match. We did have quite a few people who were quite casual. They would show up to practice, but they didn't really care so much about playing. Weren't, try-harding at all. So they weren't the best pilots, and they were just there for the social aspects and to help out. Well, I'm not sure those people got to play much.
Also maybe to train in the, or to be a buddy or to fill a role for someone who doesn't have time for that training on that day or something?
Yeah, we had 1 or 2 days where we were actually struggling to get pilots for practice, and then those people were very helpful. But in general, we just fielded the main team, and obviously we have some players who specialized in a few ships, and if those ships were fielded, they would play, and if not, they would not. And then you have players like myself, Control Freak, Annie, Therant, who would basically fly in every single match regardless, and we would just use whichever ship was convenient for us to fly at the time.
Who was the commander this year in your team? It was not Starfleet, right?
Starfleet wasn't involved really at all. He was just sitting on the sideline, showing up to practices. He didn't fly Logi or anything. He would just fly whatever role was open, if he flew at all.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So this year we had Annie and Terrant mainly running the team. They were working together and did everything.
So they were also the main theory crafters then?
Yeah, I believe Annie was the team leader, or whatever it's called, who communicated with CCP and such. And Terrant did a lot of theory crafting too. We also had Crazy Vanya, who is a refugee from Tuskers, who did a lot of theory crafting for us, and I joined in the last 2 weeks and helped with theory crafting and ban and picks.
Why is he a refugee from Tuskers? Isn't Tuskers also a great team?
Well, if you look at the results, clearly not.
Oh, shade has been thrown. Regarding the training, that was also a question I asked earlier. How often did you guys train, and when did you start to train?
So generally, we start training the moment the rules are announced, and then we would train about 3 times a week. And each training would be 2 to 3 hours. That's been fairly consistent over several years. So
around 110 hours spent just in training per person.
Well, it's not per person. You have the core who would probably train like that, but then other people would come and go.
I see. So Hydra sounded a little bit more hardcore in that regard. It sounded like everyone was training that amount, plus 5 people were doing like 40 hours a week theory crafting.
You see, that is why they are, top tier while everyone else is mid tier.
How many comps? Do you know how many comps you guys had theory crafted out?
It's hard to say because there are also
variations of a comp. Yeah,
variations. So we had quite a few comps, and then those comps also had a lot of variations. So when does a comp become another comp, right? So we had many variations of rush and kiting, even though we really only fielded a handful comps. We used the same comp. I mean, if you just look at the comps we used for the first week and a half. We just used the same Nighthawk with flagship comp, which got us to Hydra basically. The only versus Darkside did we drop the flagship for 3 Nighthawks instead, which, I mean, is that a different comp or is it a variation of the same comp? It basically does the same thing. It's just, a slight change in ships.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I mean, it's also very different. Like one has 3 Nighthawks, one has 2 Nighthawks and a flagship, so that does make a difference. But if we look at it, it's basically the same comp, right? And then versus Hydra, we fielded some other stuff too. So, but again, like, what's the difference between Sleipnir Rush and Nighthawk Rush, right? It's more or less the same comp, right?
That these
there and tackle stuff.
That the Sleipnir Rush can't break the Barghest? Is that the difference?
Yeah. I mean,
sorry.
We probably had better chance of killing the Barghest with the Sleipnirs than
probably, yeah. I know. I was just trying to make a joke.
They're actually very, very lucky on their part because the Barghest only survived because we got jammed by EC drones.
Oh.
So the Sleipnir got jammed by EC drones twice.
Oh.
And as you saw, it was in around 30% structure. So
the old ECM luck with Volta. That has a long history, I guess. But also, they were lucky twice. I don't know if you have heard yet, but he DC'd prior to that fight. And he was reconnecting with his mobile phone. And
yeah, we saw that. We saw in one of the matches that one of the pals weren't moving, and we were wondering what that was about.
Yeah, I think that was that match. I think Soldier said that earlier. I could be wrong, but I think I have that. I have the memory. Did you guys also have music? 2 minutes of music playing before a match?
No, we just chill on comms and talk shit for the most part when we're not trying to cheer craft for next set.
So if you're going to try to win like the next AT, are you maybe trying to steal those ideas from Hydra? Because I interviewed them. You can listen to the entire interview earlier, and they were giving out all of their social interactions too, what they do before a fight and so on.
So they have the privilege of, spending hours beforehand planning. So while they can play music and relax, we have to desperately figure out what to do next.
Desperately.
So for us, it's like we had basically no plans for the finals. We basically, okay, well, I guess we can ban this and like we can ban this, right, and see what happens. And if maybe we win, we could try these bans. And then we would go to the next match, and if we lost or we won, we would basically say, okay, we won or we lost. So then we do this, and then let's try to plan for next one.
Super complicated,
we were
right?
We were planning one match ahead every time. And that was about it.
And I'm gonna go back to the desperately in a second, but in Twitch chat they were asking, Jalen was asking, do you think the AT teams have embedded spies? I guess not all of them, but maybe some.
I find that unlikely. I think if you are a low tier team where you could get a spy in, it wouldn't be worth spying. And if you have a high tier team, you probably wouldn't be able to get the spy in. Is my thinking.
Jalen is asking a question, and I didn't actually check all the names of each team because I don't know all the players, just a few that I came across. Jalen is asking another question. How hard is it multi-boxing your Vidra character while also flying your Hydra character?
That sounds like a question for Casper, not for me.
That might be, yeah. I don't know. Oh, does Casper have 2 characters in 2 different groups? Or is that a thing of the past that we shall not mention ever again? 2 keyboards, 1 in Russian and 1 in English, he says. That's a pretty darn good answer. Oh, another question regarding training, and I'm gonna go back to this desperately. I marked it down on my notebook. Another question regarding training. I don't know how far you want to go into your private life, but I was asking the other guys as well. How much is the relationships in your life? How much are they suffering through the training, and how much you have to give up to actually come that far to come in second in the AT?
Well, unlike Hydra, we are fairly casual about things, so we would spend 2-3 hours 3 times a week practicing.
They also said 3 hours. They also said 2 to 3 hours.
I don't think you can really do much more than that, because at that point you start to practice against fatigue more than anything. So if you go beyond that, then
but maybe that would have been a good thing for Hydra, because they had to do 9 matches in one Sunday evening.
Yes, that's true. They did get a lot of skins for that though, so that's probably good, right?
Someone is asking, did you guys kick Casper out? I didn't know he ever was in Volta. He was.
I don't think he's ever been in Volta.
No, he was just in that.
We did kick him down to losers. Volta is the only team in this tournament who's not been in the losers bracket.
According to the Hydra guys, that was a tactical losing on purpose to not having to face Vidra in the final, to not having to fight them 5 matches.
Yeah, I could see that, but
I call bullshit. But all right.
I don't think that's true. I think they tactically fed so they would get more skins, because skins is based on.
They said that too. Right? They said that too.
So if you win 1 match in the best of 3 and then you lose, go down, and you just win 2 matches there and go back up, then you would get 1 extra win, right?
What kind of skins did you guys get? I think I haven't even seen that. Let me check it in game while you're explaining to me what they're named, and I'm gonna look them up.
I don't know what they're named. The IGC something. I would imagine they're for the Vargas, Ortrus, and Garmer.
Vargas. So it's only 3. Oh, I think I saw them. Hold on. Nope. I wrote Vargas wrong. That's gonna be embarrassing. I think they were visible in the break thingy. IGC skin? Maybe that's it. Nope. That's definitely not it.
IGC is something for the Vargas, I would imagine.
Really? Because it's
the skin might not have been released yet. I'm not sure.
That could be also true. Yeah. I think that was shown in the preview, but I think it had a different coloring pattern. But it's a similar skin. But I think it's more gold or something. I mean, for your skins, they should be more silver, I guess.
There is a Vargas IGC skin, so I imagine it's that.
You don't have them yet, I guess. Are you?
We haven't received them, but I see one in game, so I imagine it's the Vargas IGC skin. That if you just look on the list of skins for the Vargas.
Yeah, Graybill said they're not in. He doesn't think they're in the game yet. I don't know, but I think they looked kind of different to those IGC skins. I think that they had a longer name, IGC something something, but that's not really important. Are you gonna let me fly your AT ship?
I mean, sure, if you don't feed it.
I'm gonna try hard to not feed it, and you're gonna, walk me through the safety precautions. All right, awesome, because the other guys wouldn't. So,
really? That's rude.
Yeah, kind of. It's fine. I mean, it's very expensive. I would only fly it once anyway, just to brag. Oh, I flew an AT ship once on the TQ, and
Well, the frigate is only 150 billion ISK since there's so many of them.
Oh yeah, only. Yeah, sure. At least my ECM skills are pretty high. Or does it even ECM? I don't really know.
It just stamps.
Oh, dams. That's even better. I think.
Oh, I assume it's going to use dams. It depends on the slot layout. It will have a bonus to dams, but if it will use dams is a very different question.
Yeah, I guess. You guys lost your flagship, right? I can't even remember.
We did not.
You did not lose the flagship. How expensive was that? Do you know?
I mean, it's hard to appraise those ships because they're full of abyssals, but I would say between 100 and 200 billion is probably.
If you were if there is some people listening who might consider going into the AT, what would you tell them how to go about it, and what are the requirements you think generally?
The easiest way would be to join one of the corporations that play every tournament and get to top 16 if you can find one. They are generally a random faction warfare corporations, no-say corporations, stuff like that. They don't have that harsh requirements to join. So just join that and befriend the tournament people. And if you're a good player, they will probably invite you.
And what do you think is the skill cap? The minimum amount of skill points people need to actually consider flying there? Because I think that's also kind of a big thing, because you need to be versatile, at least within your roles, right? Like for you, example, you need perfect E-war skills, all of them, and perfect skills for those ships.
I think the minimum requirement is the ability to use shortcuts for your modules and double-click in space to pilot instead of using the orbit, approach, and keep at range buttons. If you feel comfortable doing that, you're probably better than some tournament players already.
Well, if you say
I'm not going to name any names.
I would like to, though.
But there are some bad players out there who have been in tournaments in the past and actually won first place.
What? Really?
Yeah, really awful players.
Because they were carried by the good team?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you consider any of the Hydra pilots bad players?
Currently, I don't. I think definitely there are, they don't have a full roster of top tier players, but I think overall they have a fairly high skill level. I think they're definitely, they're always in teams. You have people who are good at theory crafting or good, if it's previous tournaments, you had a lot of uniques. So some players would literally only be in the tournament because they had a lot of uniques and were willing to use them in the tournament.
Oh, yeah. Is any of those players named, is his name starting with a C and ending with 24?
No, it starts with a D.
I don't know that
ends
guy.
with a T.
I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about. That's probably for every. Like,
I think Casper knows who I'm talking about. I'm sure he can call him out.
I'm gonna call him out if you write the name in Twitch chat, Casper. Also, Casper, you're also welcome to come on the stream. Fuck it. I'm not a hardcore interviewer because I have no clue what I'm doing here. But another question that really interests me, because I heard it earlier, I heard that there was a lot of drama this year amongst some AT teams. I got 2 questions for that. Can you tell me more and insight into the drama? And second question, do you think that that those things have a huge impact in their performance, or rather maybe not? Maybe they get the shit together in the fight and maybe it's not that big of a deal.
Well, first you'll have to fill me in on the drama because I haven't heard anything about any drama.
You haven't? Okay, so...
Oh, look at that. Casper called him out.
DHB? Oh, I don't know DHB, but I'm not a very...
DHB Wildcat.
Oh, I know that game from... But didn't he sell his character or something?
I don't know. But it's actually a very funny story because I used to look up to him back in the good old days. So DHB Wildcat had a YouTube video where he flew around in the Cremolas, and I looked at that video. It's like cool music and, expensive shape, and he's blowing up a bunch of stuff. And he's in Hydra high command typing that he's going to do something stupid. So obviously it must be cool, right?
Yeah.
And then that was a big inspiration for me to get my own Cremolas. And I used to look up to him and wanted to emulate him. And now I look back at that video and all I can think is what a really awful pilot he is. It's the video of him running around Tech 1 frigates and missing with his artilleries because he's out tracking himself.
Because he's way too fast with his A-type something.
Yeah, and he burns into scram range of Tech 1 AB frigates and all around a really not good pilot, and he got first place with Hydra. So,
but you used to look up to him too because you didn't see it when you were not that experienced.
I used to be even worse in my first few years playing the game. Yeah,
I feel like I'm very often worse than a lot of people I fly with. It's a very
drama. Fill me in on it.
So apparently, Exodus kicked their captain within the first week or something.
Yes, I heard about that, but I don't really follow low tier teams that much, so that drama eluded me for the most part.
Was there any drama in your team? Like,
no, actually, we had we were pleasantly surprised this year. In the past, we've had some strong characters who caused some drama, but this year we had no drama whatsoever and just a pleasant run. And that was, in fact, a big part of the after-action report that we did as a team. It's just really celebrating that we managed to go this long with no drama and just having a really good time. So we are, hoping to emulate this in the future.
That sounds really awesome because you guys must have been under tremendous stress facing really good teams and then Hydra.
Yeah, normally when you have drama like this, it's about theory crafting and such. So I believe in Exodus. I don't really pay attention to Exodus, but Ares is a very interesting character, so I like to follow him. And apparently he had some strong opinions that were probably correct about their team's theory crafting, and the team disagreed. So sounds like they rejected Ares, and probably didn't go well for them. So Ares is he has a strong personality. Let's put it that way. So he can be abrasive at times.
I know him. I don't know why, but whenever I flew with him, it was always very pleasant, and he was treating me nicely and giving good tips. I think he got much better in explaining stuff because I think of his YouTube videos and so on, where he kind of commentates things. But even before that, and I thought he was easy guy to be around, but maybe not if you disagree with him hard on like meta questions regarding, oh, this gun type is better for this ship or whatever. If you start arguing around with him, maybe not. But I mean, I'm always welcome to broaden my horizon and get more information, like I'm doing now, because it's so fucking interesting to listen to AT pilots and their experience. And I would like to go into how it felt to be in this AT, and how excited are you? Are you getting PvP shakes during the fight? Are you sleepless after maybe the Saturday or something? Or what's the general experience for you as a human, just being there?
Actually, very interesting. So I personally don't feel anything outside of matches. I had one person on my team talk about staying like this last weekend now. He stayed up until 4 a.m. because he couldn't sleep due to anxiety about the upcoming matches. He was so stressed out about the tournament that he stayed up until 4 a.m., which probably didn't help him. But there's that. I've never experienced that. So personally, the earlier we are in the tournament, the more stressed I feel. So our first match is really awful. I always hate the first match because for me the stakes are the highest in the first match. If you are facing some low tier team, to put it that way, who has no right in winning, they still can win, can always upset. Even Hydra got knocked out first round in one tournament to some random nobodies, and it happens. So for me, the stakes in the beginning are so high. Not only do you have to go all the way through the losers bracket, but you also have to face the shame of losing to someone you really shouldn't lose to.
Yeah, I remember one time, I think 2 years ago or something, Slice was pretty new. I think maybe only first or second time in the AT, and they were flying weird comps like hull tanked Brutixes with rails, and actually won. And got pretty far. So did you make any harsh mistake during the whole AT, like piloting mistake, or just where you put your jams on?
I don't think any of us made any mistakes that we can think about. Like I'm sure that in the Slept in the Rush confident, if you just played slightly better, if everyone just performed ever so slightly faster, did slightly better positioning, whatever, we probably would have killed the Vargas regardless of the ECM jams. But at that point, it's a game of inches, so it's hard to say it's a mistake. We haven't made any mistakes that have lost us anything this tournament, which is always nice. But that's also why I really like Volta as a team, because we generally always perform well. I sat out the team once. I joined PL for a year, and I just watched Volta play. And from an outsider perspective, even when they lost, I just thought they're losing in the most beautiful way right now. They're piloting perfectly even as they lose. And as a piloting heavy person, I can really appreciate that, because if you lose to piloting mistakes, that will frustrate me, because I'm very good at that kind of stuff. So I will notice all the mistakes and they will upset me. But if you lose to theory crafting, as we did this year, it doesn't upset me that much, because I'm not that involved in the process. So I would necessarily be able to do it better myself.
Soldier had a specific question, but I didn't write it down properly. But I think it was about you in your Kitsune on MJD beacon, and if you thought you would die, because apparently he killed you right there because you were 0 velocity on the beacon or something. Or what you're thinking.
At that point, I wasn't really paying that much attention, because I saw that the match was already won. So I was just memeing around, jumping from beacon to beacon, looking at drones. I think I could have survived if it was, more
Serious.
proactive jumping. But I was mostly just jumping back and forth, so the drones didn't have a hard time catching up to me.
I see. All right. Guess that's not that interesting of
I
you.
suppose that was a piloting mistake by me, but the stakes were so low that I didn't really care.
So you have no prep songs, and this year no drama in your team. Wow.
Yeah. What I found most interesting was that during the best of 3 versus Hydra, I really didn't feel shakes much at all. I felt much more shakes in all the other matches. I think Dark Side possibly was the... No, actually, I think Growth was the most
surprising
scary match we had. We had the most shakes because we had the comp. If I remember, like we had the Nightmare, or not Nightmare. We had the Nighthawk comp, and they had heavy armor with Balgorn and Flag Nightmare
and lasers. I don't remember. Did they have lasers?
They had lasers,
so they had the good damage type against you.
Well, they had good damage type, and also it was a very execution heavy match for us. So in a lot of matches, it's just like you either burn straight away or you burn straight in and you hit F1 and kind of wait for the match to resolve. In that match, it was a lot of flying around, and we had to fly perfectly and not make any mistakes, because if we got caught, suddenly the whole team could fall apart.
Yeah.
So we all had to play perfectly to execute that match. And we did, so, we won. But for me, that gave me the most shakes in the entire tournament. Followed by the first match we had. And then all the way at the bottom is the best of 5, where I wasn't shaking at all. Like, I don't know if it was because I was too busy focusing, but even when we get on grid, I didn't feel it. So the worst part in the match is when you have everything fitted up and you're just sitting there waiting to be teleported, and then you're teleported and you sit there for 3-4 more minutes just waiting for them to tell you to warp to the arena. And there's nothing to do at that point. You just sit there and wait. Look at local, and you chat with your opponents and the referees. You're eventually told to warp to the arena. And then you want to be really quick about warping to the arena, so you can descan what the opponents have and you can start planning. So at that point, you just sit there and wait, and you stare at the screen and try to not psych yourself out.
Yeah, I guess that's where the 2 minutes of music come in and help a lot. That's what Hydro does, and I think, well, I would like to have the distraction of the music, because I would probably be psyching myself out way too much, and then I would fail to double click in space at the right time, maybe a second before the timer starts, and then my ship wouldn't be moving and it would be removed from the match immediately.
That's not really a problem, because once you land on grid, you don't have time to be stressed out, because the moment you see what they have on this scan, you're suddenly busy planning again. And then when the match starts, it's just like any other practice, really. You don't really, at least I don't feel the shakes in the match itself. At that point, I'm too focused on doing my job, and it just feels like another practice at that point.
Did any of you guys misfit a ship or bring wrong ammo, or did any of those mistakes happen, or warped at the wrong range? Did any of that happen this year?
We haven't had any mistakes like that.
Wow.
We all link our fits in fleet, and we all like double check each other. We had like 1 or 2 instances of ships missing some charges, not important ones, but we had some command ships that were missing backup charges, and but it got caught, so it didn't really matter.
Soldier was also asking a question. The question he actually asked, and which I had written down properly, was what you guys expected them to bring in the final series. Maybe each match.
Well, having expectations requires planning, and we didn't plan, so we basically had, hey, this is a fun comp, let's fly this. And like, hey, let's try something else.
You gotta be shitting me.
So that's basically how we did entire thing, which is also how we won against Hydra, because if you don't have any plan,
the enemy can't guess your plan. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my god, that might actually be the only way to beat Hydra, because on some matches, not against you, but maybe also against you, but on some matches it looked scary how good the counter was. Like how good their comp was just on the face of it, even if they wouldn't execute perfectly. Like just on the face of it, how good the comp was against the enemy comp.
It's Hot Drop o'clock!
Oh, Hot Drop from Erst. Thank you, Erst, for the Hot Drop. We're talking about the Alliance tournament and how it is to be an Alliance tournament player. But let me tell you this, guys. He was saying stuff like, oh, sometimes you just burn in or you kite away. That sounds for him so easy because he's so experienced. But for newer players, that would not be so easy, because how far do you extend into the enemy? How, like all those details, or what ships do you need to move around a little to not get in scram range, and so on. I think there's way more to it than just ramming the enemy. Right, Tikktokk?
Yes, that's definitely a difference. So, for me, what I consider difficult is flying a hyena versus a Balgon, for example, because the Balgon has 35, 36k wide range, something like that, and then you just you have to stay outside that range of the Balgon, while you also have to stay within 50k or 40k, depending on if you have links or not, of whatever you are supposed to web yourself. So that's not a very, very large margin. That's a margin of maybe 10k or something that you have to move within and orbit your opponent with.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you have to orbit and you have to stay within 50k of one person, but outside 35k of another person.
Yeah.
You have to keep that orbit going.
Yeah.
That's difficult when everyone is moving around. So
I think one time I saw you make a 180, and I was like, oh shit, if he gets shot in this moment where he turns around, I was like, oh. But I think you legit did a 180 one time. Like you were burning around, I think it was in a frig, and then you were just 180ing it and turning around the other direction, because I think your priorities changed because of whatever happened in the match.
That's actually a skill you pick up in a tournament that takes, I would say, a year or two to learn, and that is that people are going to stay on target and switch very rarely.
And you're pretty safe for certain amounts.
So I don't have my hardeners on when I'm flying around. I have my hardeners preheated, ready to go, and then I will see people basically call out when we are primaried and when people switch off us. So if I'm in a Nighthawk and I have my harness on and I see another Nighthawk about to die, I will be very alert, and the moment I think that they might shoot me, I will just turn on my harness right before, and then I will be
already with heated hardeners
from the start, and I will tank more. Yeah, but I will be confident that no one's going to shoot me until then, because that just wouldn't make sense. You're killing this other Nighthawk, so if this swapped off that, they would lose a lot of time.
Do you do the same thing in a frigate?
In the hyena. Yes, so I won't have the harness on unless I think they might, try to snap kill me. But generally, I will keep it off, and I will be aware of when they're going to shoot me. So in the last match versus, it was the Minotaur Rush match we had. I had the invol on my sweeple. I had that off the entire time, and the moment I saw that Hydra was going to shoot me, I went to defensive mode and started activating my heated invul 1 second before he started shooting me. that's perfect because I stay in damage mode and I do more damage to the target, and then 1 second before I need it, I turn all my tank on, and then I didn't survive long because we didn't have Lodge at that point, but I survived longer.
I saw Starfleet.
So that's also with the hyena when I do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's also with the hyena 180. If I'm confident that I'm not going to be shot, I don't need to move around, right? I can do 180 and it doesn't really matter. I would have to notice that I would do 180 and predict when I would do it, and then time some big alpha just for that tip. Because it's actually very difficult to do that against a frigate or really any ship. If you are trying to, you can't really swap to ship that is turning. If you're already shooting a ship and it does 180, yeah, you will apply a lot of damage in that moment, but you can't really
predict it.
Swap to ship as it's doing it.
Yeah.
So I was in a position where I was thinking, I'm not going to be shot in the immediate future, so it's safe for me to just do 180.
I see.
So on the other hand, with when I flew the Kitsune against the drone comp, I made sure to not make too hard turns. I was always keeping my speed up, and the moment I got webbed, I would turn my micro drive off to reduce my sig bloom, and with tricks like that, I was able to survive for a very long time, and that's probably won us the match. Because they were trying to kill my Kitsune, and had they killed it, they probably would have won. But I managed to stay alive with what I consider near perfect piloting and probably some luck on top, and that's how we ended up winning.
Yeah, that match was super.
On that.
That match was super painful for me because I lost the channel points there.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine, but I'm glad you won. I mean, I wished both of you teams to win, but I mean, there can only be one, and I guess if they spent that much more time theory crafting.
I'm happy it turned out the way it did. I'm glad we won that first best of 3.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time Volta has ever beaten Hydra.
Really? Ever?
Yes. I don't think we have ever won against Hydra except that set.
Maybe it let you win to get more
Correct
skins.
me if I'm wrong.
I'm just kidding. I'm still not buying the. I'm still not buying the letting you guys win part. But maybe it's true.
Not true.
Probably not.
No, it's not.
When you fly the Kitsune,
you never.
This is going to be, for some of my viewers, maybe too detailed, but I like to fly ECM ships, or at least I like to fly with them, like in partnership on grid. So the jam picking, who decides that, and how wrong were you guys a lot of the times? Who decides the jams?
It's decided after the bans. So, I mean, when you pick the comp, basically, you consider what you could possibly face, and then you try to put your jams to those comps. So we had a lot of Kaldari and Amar jammers because we expected to fight the
Amar rush,
sort of Kaldari comp or some sort of Amar setup. So Amar is generally, the heavy control comps. They use a lot of Amar shapes, and the Kaldari comps have been very popular for the kiting stuff, especially with the bargains. So for us, that seemed like a very safe fix, and then we end up against drones, which should be a fairly good counter to XVII, you would think, right?
Yeah.
But somehow I managed to win, despite that, with some excellent target calling and some good luck.
Did you jam a bunch of drones too?
I actually no, we never jammed drones. We were just focusing on jamming the hyenas so they wouldn't be able to apply to us.
Yeah, I saw that.
I actually consider.
Did you also feel for the hyena pilots kind of a little bit, at least in the aftermath? Because I saw like the hyenas jammed, and if I was in the hyena, I would be like, oh, fuck's sake, I can't web anything. I would have full control over the screen, but can't do anything.
As a hyena, I've been in that position. It's not fun.
Yeah. And I mean, Kitsune is so fast and maneuverable too and you can just hide behind your buddies, I guess. And there is probably no way for the hyena to actually get a web on you, so you could be removed. Or did they get a web on you?
They did get the web on me for a part of it at least. So the thing with ECM now is that if you land a successful jam on someone, they can target you. So if I'm jamming a hyena, that hyena can still web me, right?
Yeah.
So I was jammed, or I was webbed, but since I turned off my prop mode, the drones were still unable to apply to me. So
while you were uncycling your jam, and the other Kitsune took over the jamming, and then you were free again.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the cross jamming. I made a video on it, but I didn't release it yet for Bombas Bar stuff, for Falcon stuff. Misty actually helped. He was in the Nix that was shooting us, like the test Nix on the test server. Also, have you watched some of the matches in retrospect already, like on video on demand?
Yeah, I watched our matches, or at least most of them. I didn't bother with the finals.
Too painful.
Basically, I watched the matches where we win, basically, because those are fun to watch.
Oh, the winning matches were fun to watch. I guess you're not the masochist after all who can bear watching the losing ones. Well, how is it to watch yourself?
Well, I enjoy watching the winning matches because, I mean, I enjoy watching our own matches, and I can see our excellent touting, and then afterwards the commentators at the desk will generally give me a shout out because apparently I'm the most famous person on the team or something.
Well, they all know you personally, so
they all know me personally.
So that helps a lot. But also, don't you think
they all give me a shout out?
I had the feeling, I'm not sure if you had the same, a bunch of people already said that this year's rules were kind of the best, and the points and so on made it the most interesting and unpredictable what the meta would be. And actually there was, well, I don't think there was the meta. There was not the best, comp or anything. At least not that you could feel it because of the bans. And on the other hand, I also thought that the commentators were so great this year. I mean, they're very often very good, but I think this year it was just, wow. I mean, they could almost go, like in that profession, commentating something else.
I think most of the commentators did great. I'm not just sure about the meta. I mean, this is more a question for Hydra, who actually know how to Tiercraft than us, but we ended up in a meta where you had to ban the Barghest, or you were forced into triple Barghest, basically. I don't know.
Which you faced. Which you faced.
Yes, I mean, you saw that with.
Okay, I'm a dummy when it comes to these kinds of high-level PvP things, but I'm under the impression that Barghest is pretty good at running away and keeping range and scramming people off that want to come close to you. Question, because I'm a real dummy. I saw that match and I was like, what the fuck? They're doing a 6 Barghest brawl, burning into each other and just hammering it out. What was that about? Can you explain it to a dummy like me?
Well, when you have a Barghest versus Barghest, it doesn't really matter at what range you sit. So there's no point in kiting.
I mean,
DPS shapes are going to hit you regardless.
The higher velocity you have, the higher velocity you have, the less the missiles are going to apply, even if you have the huge signature already.
So we have we both used shield comps with rapid heavies. So with rapid heavies being a cruiser-sized weapon, they're going to apply to a battleship perfectly, no matter where you are.
Yeah. So the velocity doesn't. Even if you have 1,000 velocity and has a 500 meters per second explosion velocity, even then, shouldn't it be like half?
With a signature on the Barghest. So, I mean, I don't know the basic of a Barghest, but it's, battleships are generally around 400 sig. And then you throw a microwave dragon.
Sure,
and,
huge.
Suddenly you're the size of a moon.
Yeah. And that compensates for the speed, I guess. I thought it does.
So, so the reason, our strategy with that match is we go in with the Barghest, we kill one of their Barghests, and then we kill their support, or at least, as many supports as we can with the remaining missiles. So we wanted to go in, first of all, to make sure that the Barghest died in that one clip, and also so we could grapple their Lodge. So I was, we were shooting the Barghest, and as the Barghest was supposed to go down, I'm quite sure I already had grapple on one of their Lodge frigates, and we just swapped to that, and it disappeared rather quickly because it's grappled, right?
Yeah.
If it sat at range, we wouldn't be able to grapple it, and it would tank a bit longer. So that's why you end up with a brawl like that. If they had brought something else, maybe like Vindicators and Lashaks, then we would probably sit at the further range. But on the other hand, triple Barghest are so powerful that you probably don't even need to do that. You can go in on most things and just outbrawl them because the amount of DPS you have is just so absurd.
Well, the other guys also had triple Barghest. For the Twitch chat.
And that's what
just quick
I
for
like about this meta.
Oh, you don't? Because then everyone brings triple Barghest?
Yeah, that's a problem. We basically had the meta where everyone banned the Barghest, and if you didn't ban the Barghest, then both sides had to feel triple Barghest to lose.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe Hydra had some epic anti-Barghest comp that I don't know about. Cast would have to comment on that, but even our matches versus Hydra, whenever the Barghest wasn't banned, we would just field triple Barghest. We even fielded our flagship with that. So I imagine if they had some excellent anti-Barghest comp, they would have fielded it at that point, because I don't think, unless they were thinking that we also had some anti-Barghest comp, but that's thinking too highly of us. So that was kind of meta. Basically, everyone banned the Barghest, and I don't think a meta where you have to ban a ship or field it is a good meta.
The Casper was also saying there's no shame in not watching your losing matches, and also regarding the Twitch chat, you guys are more than welcome to ask questions regarding the AT, or also he knows a lot of other stuff about Eve. Q, please write Q and double dot thingy, and then I'm gonna put it somewhere into the conversation at some point. And yeah, Blunted Blazer also said he enjoyed the hell out of Sutonia. He's always great as a commentator. You kind of have to have him there. It's not the AT without him, I think, anymore.
I think my favorite commentator of all time is Chesser. I understand why he isn't commentating anymore, probably because he's a top tier commentator while everyone else is mid tier, so he kind of dominated the commentator bit.
Maybe he was also talking about feathering too much.
I think he was talking about top and low tier too much, actually. But,
yeah.
So the thing about Chesser is we have a lot of commentators, and some of our commentators are very charismatic, but they lack the in-game knowledge to be very useful. We had especially some of the CCP guys who were commentating, they were asked questions about comps and bans and stuff like that, and they weren't even able to hide that they had no clue what they were talking about. They can't just shut down. So you have some commentators who are very charismatic but lack knowledge, and then you have commentators who are very knowledgeable but perhaps not as charismatic. I think I would put Sutonia and Moderator in that category. They're very knowledgeable, but they can be a bit dry at times. And I think Chesser is a commentator who was both very charismatic. I think a bit too charismatic. He basically owned whichever room he was in, but he also was very knowledgeable about the game. So he was able to provide useful information while being
entertaining as well.
Charismatic.
But I thought Misty was doing awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of whenever he was explaining stuff, because you knew, oh, now some background stuff is coming, or he saw something in that match that explains this weird thing we observed, but we couldn't really make sense of. For example, in one match there was I don't know, there was like 3 Osprey Navies or something, and there was bombers still alive, and I was like, how the hell is that possible? Like, no way. You know, if I see Osprey Navies, I'm assuming rapid lights, but they had heavies apparently, so that was the reason, and I didn't know. And then he was explaining it. Yeah. Also, guys, don't be afraid to ask like new bro questions or something. This is also supposed to bring the AT experience a little bit closer to the general EVE public, and I think that most of us, we don't have those insights into the AT, and it's a very detailed and deep knowledge-based thing. At least it seems to me, and you need to practice a lot apparently if you want to win or come in second place. You still got to practice the same amount. So don't be shy to ask questions that might seem obvious and basic to you. We're surely going to go over it. So I was asking earlier, but I can't remember the answer if you gave really one. Did your real life suffer at all because of all the training? Is there like a cost to all of those amazing prices?
I wouldn't say any relationships suffered because of it. I definitely had less time to do other things, but you know, if I'd rather play a different game or do something else, then I would probably have prioritized that over doing a tournament. It's definitely an investment, but it's also one that most of us are happy to do.
Do you think it builds character?
To waste a bunch of time on Internet Spaceship, or to participate in a tournament?
Well, to doing something really hard, to practice really hard for it, and then trying to win. I think it does, and also I think your social skills, I mean, they probably increase because you have to get along with people under super high stress conditions, right?
Yeah, it definitely builds character and camaraderie, stuff like that, and you get your own personal narrative, which is quite interesting.
That too.
You're your own protagonist basically in some sort of tournament arc from a show.
An epic tournament arc this year, man. I mean, I think it couldn't have gone better. Volta winning against Hydra and having some jams in there too. And then Hydra going down loser bracket, going like through the Valley of Hell, like 9 matches in a row, basically, with a bit of breaks. Boy. And then, winning the top 3 the way they did. I mean,
yeah.
After you guys lost the first match, like, what was the feeling in the team like? Like the first of the final 5.
It was a bit, we were a bit down, but I mean, we didn't really take it that badly. So I made the good decision to have us write down the bans we would have next based on what we were going to ban and what we plan to field based on the bans we got, both for like the winning and losing scenario. So in previous years, I think we would have started to panic at that point and do something stupid. We were about to panic and do something stupid this year, but I basically sat my foot down and said, hey, we planned this beforehand when our heads were clear. So we're just going to go with what we planned and do that again. So no changing it now. We're committed. And that seems to have paid off because we end up winning. And after winning, there's less panic. And then we just got I think we actually got lucky. I don't think we should have won the last match, but we did, so that's good. That just came down to palting, but yeah. So surprisingly, you take the losses well. You wouldn't think so, but it doesn't affect you that much.
So after the second match of the
not let it.
After the second match of the final five, were you guys already like, shit, this is probably it? Like we probably lost this one?
I don't think we really expected to win it that much. For us, it was we were basically hoping that Hydra were so exhausted at that point that they would kind of give up.
Rightfully so.
Like, they would. Yeah.
Rightfully
we were
so.
exhausted, and you just played 3 matches, and then they had been playing nonstop.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, I can't speak for my team. I personally was kind of checked out. I knew that we didn't have a plan for coming this far. So we basically relied on luck. So when you know that, you kind of just pick random shit and hope that something sticks. And if it does or it doesn't, you don't really care much, right? Because it's just the random outcome. You hope that you can be somewhat unpredictable and do something to catch them off guard. And if you do, that's great. And if you don't, well, whatever. It's random, right?
Well,
and especially the last 2 matches, we were kind of joking around. It's like, hey, let's just lose quickly so we can go to bed. Before it was even decided. That wasn't like a defeatist attitude. That's like, yeah, we're just going to lose, so why not just lose quickly? But rather, we are so exhausted right now. Like, please just end it one way or another.
Oh, I was also like, don't take it the wrong way, but in the third match, I already had a guest over. And I guess the feeling in the room was, let's not watch this any longer. So I was saying, just 10 more minutes, the last match is coming up, the last match. But it could have been, it could have been not the last match, but I was hoping, hopefully this is it, because if I can't watch it live, I regret not watching it live, and I have to watch it the next day without spoiling myself previously who won. But yeah, it was kind of good that it ended when it ended, because it was already a long day, even if you're just watching it. And I can't even imagine how it was for the Hydra guys. 9 matches. Oh boy. Another great question from Graybill. I'm not sure if you can answer that, but how many comps does one need to get to place 4 in the AT?
Well, we got to 4th place with basically 1 comp. So, I guess that's your answer.
Did you guys really always field the same comp until that point?
We fielded 2 Nighthawks and a flagship every match except for 1 versus Darkside, where we fielded 3 Nighthawks instead of a flagship, because they're very scary Russians who don't really know what they're planning to do. Yeah. So we were expecting them to do something crazy that might kill our flagship. And they did field a comp that would have been very strong against the flagship. I think had we fielded the flagship, we might have lost the match, and we probably would have lost the flagship.
Oh, damn, yeah, those considerations.
Yeah, but we didn't field the flagship because we kind of expected that, and that paid off. So it's very interesting because the flagship can be a liability, actually.
Yeah.
So in that match, they had a very muting heavy comp. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but they basically had a lot of control and a lot of mutes and a lot of DPS, and we basically we came in with Nighthawks and we just rushed in, and we killed them basically by out-brawling them with kiting Nighthawks. If we had the flagship, and we tried that, we probably wouldn't have wanted to brawl in with the flagship because they were
scary
to kill that if you brawled in.
Yeah.
But if you didn't brawl in, we would, lose a big part of our DPS. So, if you kited with the Vargas, it would have been guidance disruptor disrupted and unable to do anything, and then it's just sitting there being, dead weight. If it went in, they could have just primered it and killed it, and yeah, maybe they lost the match, but they would have killed their flagship and probably ruined or shot at winning right there.
The disruptors were not scripted this year, right?
No, you haven't been able to use script
forever
for many, many years.
Yeah. Just double checking for my own sanity. Blunted
Blazer. Very interesting. So even though our flagship comp is stronger than our triple Nighthawk comp, in that situation, we would have lost if you brought the flagship, but we won by not bringing it, which is, I find that interesting.
Yeah, this is interesting. And also, Blunted Blazer asked another great question, and keep them coming, guys. We can answer questions basically as long as we feel like it. After all the practice and matches, do you feel any burnout? Second question, do you or your teammates take time away from me afterwards, or do you jump right back into the game?
That's actually an excellent question. So it depends on your team's morale and camaraderie. In previous years, where we had more internal drama, the burnout was real. Like we would get up to tournament and we were all very done. This year we didn't have that at all, probably because we just had such a good time together practicing every week. So we could have kept going for a very long time. I think a lot of people are very burnt out on the game in general. We are very bitter wets, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we don't really play much on Tranquility anyways. Like Terran, well, Annie especially.
They don't play at all.
Annie showed up to a fleet once the last couple of months, and he was basically treated like a celebrity because no one seen him online in such a long time, and he didn't even know what was going on. Someone had to hand him a carrier to go on the fleet because he didn't have any ships, and yeah. so that's the team captain right there.
But isn't
even involved?
Isn't for someone like Annie flying a carrier a bit boring?
Well, that's probably why he doesn't play much.
Yeah, because you guys are null bears now, right?
Well, not only that, it's just the state of the game doesn't really allow for high skill PvP in that fashion anymore.
Well,
which is a shame.
I would argue that some of the wormhole fights are very high skilled PvP, but it takes a while to get there.
So the meta might have changed. When I last looked at the wormhole PvP, it seemed to be heavy armor brawls.
Yeah.
Based around wormholes. So it's a very one-dimensional meta that doesn't really allow for a lot of skill to take place. It's basically who has the better ships, right, and the better numbers.
Yeah.
I think before, when you had good faxes before they nerfed faxes, it was much more skillful to do that kind of stuff. Like flying a fax in a wormhole fight was very skillful with the refits and such, but these days, at least I don't consider that very high skill PvP. But then again, I like small, fast ships that zoom around and are all about piloting, right? So for me, the idea of sitting in a damnation, anchoring up on the bad guys and pressing F1 just doesn't seem that appealing.
Maybe you would like the E-War roles and those kinds of fleet fights, but from what I heard, what wormholders have been telling me how the fights were going, and then good MGD from a good pilot, and other people triple boxing, and it sounds very intense and very close a lot of the times. And then
you can do that, but the thing is, if you are in a situation where you can triple box, that means that it's not that high skill, right?
Yeah,
it might be difficult if you're running 3 characters at once, but that's a different sort of difficulty. Then it's just about how much can you micromanage at once.
Yeah,
Right.
I guess, and yours is more about positioning and
Yes.
perfect.
So
Yeah,
I prefer to fly one ship and just, have that one ship be as challenging as possible.
me too,
But
but
then
that's
again-
probably just because I'm so bad.
But then again, like right now, I have my Ishtars in Nullsec, and to defend those Ishtars, or rather defend the ESSs,
Double paladin.
I just triple box 2 paladins and a Loki, right? So that's, it can also be fun and challenging, but it's not fun and challenging because, it's high skill. It's fun and challenging because I'm flying 3 ships at once with, 10 dozen each.
It certainly wasn't fun and challenging for the Vetmec pilot you completely dunked. I saw it live on the stream. But all right, I mean, you defended your space and so on. It's all good. We asked the question how someone would get into the AT. How did you get in the AT, and how did you get interested in it?
I'm not sure exactly how I got into the AT originally. So I used to be in a low-sec faction warfare corporation, which also used to have Misty in it. So Mystical Might, the commentator.
Yeah.
And eventually we joined a different low-sec PvP corporation outside faction warfare that was run by Mag Lochet, who was on Cable's team this year, actually. I don't know if he ended up playing, but he was there. And eventually Misty left that corp and joined Volta. And a year or two later, he ended up poaching me. So I also ended up in Volta. I think that actually was to get me on the 8 team. They wanted me on the 8 team, I think. So I think I just joined Volta and then got on the 8 team that way from Misty's recommendation, I think.
Oh, nice.
And eventually Misty left, and now I remain.
I think I remember I was in Volta in that time as well, when you were pretty fresh there, I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe you were there already for a bit. I can't really remember. So we got the private stuff out of the way, the technical stuff out of the way. I think I've ran out of questions. Because, well, are you personally going to take a break from EVE now? Or are you just like, it was so cool?
I'm going to keep doing exactly what I did before, and what what I'm probably going to do for the rest of EVE, and that is, spin my Ishtars, relax with my paladins. I have a very good setup here. I have I have industrialized feeding and streamlined everything. I recently, well, not recently, but a few months ago, bought the 149 Ishtars, fully fit, ready to go. So when I feed, I just kill my pod, go back to staging, and get an Ishtar.
Wait, you're talking about retting Ishtars? You?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh boy. You sound like an old person now who has given up on life. I can't even fathom.
I mean, basically. So I run 9 Ishtars while I work from home. It's quite great. And then I have my main characters staging, and there I have a Black Ops and some Cheetahs. And if someone goes for my ESS, I will dock up the Ishtar, get an industrial ship, light an industrial Sino, jump in with the Black Ops and Cheetahs, dock up in the structure, undock the paladins that I have staged there, and then just go blap them.
So you have paladins staged all around?
Yes.
So if I wanted to bait you out, I would have a fleet ready in a wormhole, and as soon as you enter the ESS with your paladins, we go in after you
very easily.
Yeah, very nice. Easily. Well, it's effort.
I actually lost to some, I fed my Vargers, or I fed my paladins to some Vargers the other day, and they did exactly that.
Yeah, I would not bring Vargers, but. Oh yeah, I guess we could, but I'm also lazy. But I'm gonna keep it in mind when I see the Volta space and the Uber Care Bear. I can't even. This doesn't compute. Sorry, it's in my head like it's scrambling. This doesn't compute. Uber Care Bear Tikktokk chilling his life. It's almost like you're on your like veranda, or what is the English word, on your, like in front of your house. You're sitting there in a rocking chair, just playing with your Ishtars, having some tea.
Yeah. Well, I need to spend that ISK so I can fit up these tournament ships I'm getting now that I will probably not fly very much.
Yeah. At least you let me fly one once.
Sure.
Nice, very nice. I want the E-War. Like, I think the cruiser one is also the same E-War, but just like the Orpheus.
That's a Hictor, basically. That's just a Hictor.
No, then I guess I prefer the Frigg, because I'm more of a fast, small kind of stuff. Soldier Forest is asking it in chat, are you ready for the next AT?
Probably. It's hard to say. It depends on where I am, in life. I think, it's a big investment, and this year, that investment is something I could do. I didn't really have much other things going on, so it's fine. I don't know where I'm going to be in life a year from now. I probably will participate, but who knows, right?
Well, you sound pretty ready.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm still playing Eve, I probably will. Maybe I'm, off traveling the world or something, and then I probably won't.
All of you guys sound pretty wholesome to me. And not really like harsh try hard. I think I have this theory that if you're in the top tier, and you guys are in the top tier, and your corporation name, I think, still is the same, right? I have this theory that in the top tier, people are getting more relaxed and more casual. And even though they're like some of the best pilots in the game, they're very social and easy to work with. And somewhere below that, somewhere in the higher mid tier, there's going to be the super harsh tryhards. They're going to be like shouting at each other and being really angry if something doesn't work.
That sounds like Tuskers. Are you calling Tuskers mid tier?
I didn't know that they were like that, but if they are that,
they're very try hard. They're like, they're the type of people who will like record every match and like have like a heartbeat monitor, stuff like that.
Yeah, but that sounds smart. Like recording the match sounds smart, but what I'm more thinking about is like being super rude to your fellow players if something doesn't work. Like, like crossing the line kind of stuff. Where also you talked about the drama in Volta previously, and I think it probably has an effect on your performance in the AT when that stuff is happening, right?
But it's difficult. There's a saying in Eve that you can either be very good or very nice, and few people are both.
I like the ones that are both. Yeah,
but they're very rare.
I like the nice part. For me is more important than the very good part, because if you're nice and you have a group of friends that you fly with a lot because you're so nice, then you're automatically going to get better at some point. If you practice a lot.
From like say Amamaki Police, we had an organization generally known for good piloting and stuff like that, but we had a lot of people who were really not good at piloting. Like, barely knew how to fly the spaceship, but they were so nice, right? So you just wanted to have them around.
Right.
It doesn't really matter what they're capable of, just pleasant individuals.
Also, you guys let me fly with you and Soldier too, and I'm far below your skill level, but it's completely fine. I'm, communicative about the mistakes I'm making on grid, and then you guys can cover my ass.
Yeah.
That's really nice. I mean, I enjoy it a lot. Tikktokk.
I think though that,
Oh no, the Graybill was just writing something I was about to say.
I do think that a lot of very good players are people who might not have much of a real life, so they are able to invest a lot of time into Eve. I think a lot of players in Eve, especially like the top players, face a lot of issues in their life at some point, and used Eve as a way of coping, as an escape, and probably got really good that way. And some of the people who did that, managed to escape their issues and become better people, but retain their skills. And other people, still are dealing with issues. Like, I don't know if I should call out people, but I know several people who
you shouldn't call out people
who I consider some of the best players in the game, especially in their areas. But I can tell that they're not well adjusted. Basically, they have issues with social interactions and stuff. And I mean, we dealt with that in the Volta team too. We had people who, several people who were really, really good, which is why we kept them around. But they also caused a lot of issues and friction. And it's difficult to deal with that because if they are a big part of your team and that they are very competent at what they do, but they also cause issue for other players. Like, do you kick them or do you keep them around? Like, how do you deal with that? They're not like maliciously, bad people. They just, have issues.
to be, yeah.
You can't really blame them either. It's just who they are, right?
Sure.
So I imagine, a lot of the top, the better teams have also dealt with that. I don't know, how Hydra deals with that, which is, the only team I really consider that as really, really top tier. I know that's been an issue with Volta. Luckily this year, those people left, so we didn't have to deal with any of that.
Did you also ever experience that people who have these more social imperfection, let's say, that they figured their shit out and got just better socially because of Eve, maybe?
I think there's a lot of people who grew on Eve too. It's a I think it's a very nice social platform to make friends, and there are also high stakes. You aren't being protected by the game. There are betrayals and stuff like that, which makes everything more real, and you can definitely grow from that. So I'm sure there are many stories of people who got good and improved, and I'm sure also a lot of stories of people who got really good and their ego grew.
Yes, and then then it got worse with the social skills. Yep. Yeah. I know definitely what you're talking about. Yep, sure. But you mentioned betrayal, and there was a huge betrayal on you. I think somebody stole, somebody that you consider a good friend stole, I think, one AT ship or multiple from you, or from the common hangar that you had in Amamake.
Yeah, you had Samantha mate stealing my Cremolas and Casper's Imp and my Panther, and if you forget to mention that that Coral also lost his Jump Freighter, he gets very upset. So he also saw Jump Freighter.
But I think the way that you reacted to that was I don't want to sound too pathetic, but it was like a shining beacon for the Eve community. Everyone was because you were writing, basically, in essence, Too Long Didn't Read version, you were writing something like, well, I lost a few ships, but he lost a really good friend.
Yeah, something like that. I think about the role is I can confirm that he stole my Cremolas and Casper's Imp, and to me they're just space pixels and more sad about losing a friend than the spaceship.
Man, that was good. That was good reaction.
So it's very interesting because I feel like that was a turning point in Eve's culture. I don't know if that caused it or that was just the first instance after change, but I think that's the first time there's been a high profile scam like that people are sympathizing with the victim instead of the perpetrator. Generally, heists like those are celebrated, but for some reason people, didn't really approve of it. And I don't really think they've been approving of stuff like that since.
That's a very astute observation, man, because I think you're right. I think also generally EVE culture has shifted in various ways over those years, but I think you're completely spot on about that. But also the way you reacted, how could one not sympathize with your reaction? Like that was so honest and made you very vulnerable too. I think 5 years earlier you would have been ridiculed, but at that point in time, everyone was like, "He's completely right. Friends before ships," or something like that. Like everyone I knew and everyone was like, "Oh fuck, that sucks for him." You know, let's talk to him a little bit or something. And man, that reaction was just great from the EVE community. Grable wrote earlier, Tikktokk like the old war veteran sitting in his rocking chair watching the life on the street, occasionally shooting a kid that runs over his lawn with a shotgun. Oh yeah, that's
You see the problem with that is I live in Norway, not America, so we don't do that here.
sure, but like as an analogy to your paladin stuff you're doing, and
That's fair.
also, well, we haven't talked since, or not about that for a very long time, but around 2014-15, you made the observation that there needs to be some amount of scarcity in the game, and that the way the Rockle changes and everything like that happened was eventually going to ruin the game economically. You made a very large Reddit post, and I was referring to that Reddit post to various people for the next 2 or 3 years because I thought you were spot on. Like, how right do you feel now? Because all of your predictions came true. How does that feel when you saw it coming? Nobody was, or well, at least the devs weren't listening.
I think
or...
a lot of people saw it coming, to be honest. But I don't know. I prefer to be right about good things.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that they introduced the waste factor, which is something I think could be really good for the game. I don't know if they implemented the best way, but definitely having high yield ships be more wasteful, so there's a trade-off is interesting.
How do you... Because you also did some industry and rockle mining stuff, I know, in a wormhole once with Sutonia, I think. So maybe you know some stuff about these changes too. What do you think about them? The proposed changes as they are now. I mean, they're probably going to change some details, but what do you think generally about those?
I haven't looked too heavily into the changes so far. I've been kind of busy with
winning, or with trying to win the AT.
But I think it's good that they are introducing concepts like that. I'm never perfectly happy with the execution that CCP does with things. I always think they could do things slightly differently and get much better results. And I think the waste factor is one of those things. Like I think, for example, if Rorquals had a high waste factor, so they could be used by smaller entities, but not by bigger entities, that could be a good change to equalize the playing field.
Are you considering running for CSM next year?
I did run 1 year.
You were pretty close, man.
I got 11th place.
Yep.
Right? And that's the year they introduced the abyssal mods, which I have been vehemently against. So I don't think I'm ever going to run for CSM again. I'm not invested in the game like I used to be.
All right, fair enough.
At this point, it's kind of sad, but at this point, I used to think, if they just do this and that, the game would be really awesome and I would fully invest myself in again. But at this point, it's no matter what happens, I don't think I would ever invest myself in the game again to that degree. I enjoy sitting in my rocking chair and shooting red max and participating in tournaments and stuff. But beyond that, I don't really explore the game much anymore.
That's such a shame because it's rare that people make such predictions and be right about it. Also in other, fields like economy and so on, being right, making those calls and making long-term predictions, being right about it is rare. And also I think you have huge experience under your umbrella with different sex statuses, different types of gameplay. Man, I would really like to see you there, because you could probably weed out some bad ideas and give them quick and easy solutions for their problems a lot of the time. At
I
least,
think if the CSM was impactful, I would consider it. But from what I've heard from
yeah.
people on the CSM, you are yelling and screaming facts, and they won't listen unless you are Icelandic, basically.
Maybe you have to learn Icelandic. Norwegian isn't too far away from Icelandic, right?
Yeah, it's quite close. Supposedly, if a Norwegian person moves to Iceland after a few months, they'll just start to understand it. No training needed. It's
Maybe
like a heavy dialect or something. So, I mean, Icelandic is basically a very old version of Norwegian.
Yeah, because it was Norwegian settlers that settled there and then maybe made their own words up a little bit. But
more like they had the original Norwegian, and then we made words up.
Yeah, that's often how it happened. All right, I think we're pretty done, man. Do you have anything more to add or to comment, or would you like to say anything to anyone, to the Hydra team?
Well, I would like to see some teams, become high tier. I found it very interesting this year that it seemed like a very equal playing field. I don't think, the teams that were expected to do well didn't do well, and also teams that were expected to not be relevant did quite well. You saw a lot of upsets with Tuskers and, I guess mainly Tuskers. A lot of people hyped up Templates. I was always very skeptical of Templates, and I don't know if they got unlucky, but they won the non-80 tournaments.
Yeah.
In fact, they completely annihilated Hydra, no less, in the finals. Like a clean wipe. So people were really hyping up Templates, and I was just sitting there thinking, this is a tournament with no real prizes, so no one's taking it seriously. So they're just basically winning a tournament with no competition. And now we had the real tournament, and we see the results, right? They got kicked out relatively early, right? I don't know. They probably made top 16 or something, right?
I think they got further, but I'm not sure. I think they got further than that, but I'm not sure. But yeah,
they definitely didn't wipe Hydra in the finals.
There was definitely some really nice upsets, but also this weekend in general, and also the previous weekend, it was so fun to watch, man, because it wasn't all the same comps. It was very complicated for me to follow. Well, as soon as I see the stuff landing on grid, I'm thinking like, what is this team going to try? What is that team going to try? Sometimes it's obvious because you think, they have to kite away now because they're a kitey team. But, I'm not a very skilled spectator of this stuff, and I don't know all the ins and outs of that stuff. So it was very surprising, but I can also see how it's hard for someone with less EVE experience to even follow the stuff that is going on screen. I think they do a great job with visualizing stuff now, and then also sometimes explaining what they mean. And the camera work is, I think, great now, where you can actually... The only thing that really annoys me to no end is when on screen on top, when you see the camera, the red team is on the left, but on
that's
on the lower thing it's on the right. It's always like, wait, what? Why do they have different ships now? Oh no, they're the wrong way around.
Yeah, I definitely think the production value has gone up a lot. So
so much.
Great. And I also think that especially since the removal of 80 ships in the tournament, I don't know if it's just that, but in general, I think the playing field is quite even now. So if people want to, and especially with this price structure, people didn't really know that before the tournament. It was just kind of, thrown at us at the very end. But I think that with this price structure, no 80 ships, and the state of the teams this year, I think the next tournament is going to be one of the best tournaments for new players to join up in. So I think if anyone in chat is interested in joining a team, you should definitely look into corporations right now and start working towards whichever team they aim for. and get in, because who knows, you might just get tournament chips next year.
I agree, but also then I personally would probably join some team where there's, some experienced AT players already, and maybe one experienced theory craft already that, they don't have to be top tier or anything, but just experienced.
As I said earlier, I think if you just look at the teams that plays top 16 this year, like previous years, and try to see if their daily playstyle interests you. You have teams like Waffles. They got top 4, I think, right?
They got pretty far, yeah.
Yeah, they got really far, and at least previously, Waffles had fairly lax recruitment standards, right? They were like the feeder corp to PL, so basically, if you weren't good enough to join PL, you could just join Waffles until you were good enough.
Who are you talking about? No, the other group you're talking about. Do they still exist? Does PL still exist? I don't know. I haven't seen a PL ship in space in ages.
Okay, so at this point, Waffles kind of disconnect themselves from PL, and then PL became the Pandemic Horde feeder corp somehow.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I know you have PL flying like Caracals and Talvars, and you have Pandemic Horde flying Supers. So things are different now, but that's how it used to be.
What Headliner does, it sometimes actually looks fun. Like, he actually flies like Tech 1 Caracal fleets and just, maybe having fun. I don't know. But that's...
and then you have Vocalist Primary, right, who placed 4th, apparently. That's also like a faction warfare corporation. I'm quite sure they're...
Don't they have also a bunch of old other AT players in there?
That could be it.
Yeah, I think I saw some names,
So, just train into Augur Navy, which is apparently their flag. Join Localist Primary, and you're on the team, right?
I'm actually training on our battle cruisers right now.
Well, it's a cruiser, not a battle cruiser, but close enough.
Oh, Augur Navy. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a bad ship, though.
I mean, they placed 4th, fielding it basically every single match. So is it bad? I don't know. You tell me.
I think this year the laser comps were pretty good. I mean, surprisingly good. They looked simple, but I mean, they got the job done a lot of times.
Yeah.
And Soldat was saying, well, just get a bunch of battleships and battle cruisers, press F1, and then you win. I think he was oversimplifying a little bit.
Yeah, I think, if you're interested in tournament, try to watch some, YouTube videos, stuff like that about manual piloting, like the Evis Easy series by Citonia. Chester has some, old videos. People probably don't even know who Chester is these days.
Most people don't, yeah.
Yeah, it's strange.
Because I like to make those Eve jokes that, when I was flying with you and Chester, I didn't really know who Chester was, and then you kind of explained to me on the side, and then I picked up on all those Eve jokes that I was never part of, and I never got to know those. And now when I use them, of course, how are people supposed to know? Because they don't know Johnny Pugh, they don't know Chester, like old YouTubers.
Yeah, it makes me feel really old.
Well, you're 25 and you're in your rocking chair already in front of your house, shooting at kids with shotguns.
Yeah.
Basically. All right.
Yeah.
I think we've done it all. I think I'm going to end at least the YouTube video here. I'm going to keep the stream open because I have to give away some prizes, and you're also maybe one of the winners.